There is something Florence Scovel Shinn understood about money that most people never stop to consider. Money does not respond to effort. It responds to attitude. Not the loud, motivational kind either. The quiet kind, the inner posture you carry when no one is watching. Florence taught that life mirrors belief with remarkable accuracy. Not what you say you believe, not what you wish were true, but what you assume beneath the surface. This is why so many people work hard, plan carefully, affirm faithfully, and still feel as though money remains just out of reach. They are doing everything right on the surface, but underneath, they are braced. Florence would gently say they are closed. Now that may sound strange. After all, how can someone who wants money be closed to it? Florence would smile and say, "Watch what happens inside them when the subject comes up. Because wanting is not the same as receiving. In fact, wanting often creates the very tension that keeps supply at a distance. And this brings us to the 5 words. 5 words so unassuming that the intellect nearly ignores them. 5 words so calm that the anxious mind finds them unimpressive. Yet these words sit at the center of Florence's understanding of divine supply. I am open to receive. Florence would say that when these words are spoken sincerely, the inner struggle softens, and that softening matters. Most people treat money like a puzzle to solve. Florence treated it as a flow to allow. She taught that supply already exists in divine mind. It does not need to be created. It needs to be permitted. And permission begins with openness. To be open is not to demand. It is not to chase. It is not to plead with life as though it were withholding something unfairly. To be open is to stop arguing with the idea of being supported. Florence understood that resistance is often invisible to the person carrying it. Resistance can look like overthinking. It can look like constant planning. It can look like saying, "I'm just being realistic." Florence had a gentle way of pointing out that realism, when rooted in fear, is simply doubt wearing sensible clothing. She taught that money flows most easily to those who are not emotionally braced against it. Large sums of money, especially, reveal hidden resistance. A small amount feels acceptable. A large amount raises questions. Would I deserve it? What would change? What if it disappears? Florence would say these are not practical concerns. They are protective instincts, and protection closes doors. This is why the 5 words matter so deeply. When someone says, "I am open to receive," they are not making a request. They are dissolving an objection. They are stepping out of defense mode. Florence often reminded her students that divine supply does not knock loudly. It arrives quietly, through ideas, through conversations, through moments that seem ordinary until later. But it cannot enter where there is tension. Imagine trying to hand something valuable to someone whose hands are clenched. The gift does not vanish, it simply waits. Florence believed money behaves the same way. She taught that supply is intelligent. It follows the path of least resistance, and resistance is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is simply an expectation of disappointment. Florence would say many people rehearse lack without realizing it. They expect delays, they expect struggle, they expect conditions, and life, being obedient to assumption, delivers accordingly. The phrase "I am open to receive" interrupts this pattern. It signals a different inner stance. Not hopeful, not desperate, calm. Florence placed great importance on calmness. She taught that anxiety blocks intuition, and intuition is one of the main channels through which supply arrives. When someone becomes open, they stop forcing answers. They start noticing guidance. A thought arrives at the right moment. An opportunity feels natural rather than frightening. A decision becomes clear instead of overwhelming. Florence called this being led by divine intelligence, and openness is the doorway through which that intelligence moves. Florence was very clear about one thing. Divine supply does not respond to panic. And panic, she taught, is simply fear wearing urgency. Many people believe they are being proactive with money. Florence would quietly observe that they are often being reactive. They react to bills. They react to numbers. They react to what they think might happen, and reaction tightens the grip. Florence taught that when the mind tightens, supply pauses. not as punishment, but as law, because nothing flows into a closed channel. This is why she placed such emphasis on receiving. She taught that receiving is not passive. It is courageous. To receive requires trust. To receive requires relaxation. To receive requires releasing the habit of bracing for loss. Florence understood how uncomfortable this can feel at first. Many people are far more comfortable struggling than receiving. Struggle feels familiar. Receiving feels uncertain. Florence would gently laugh at this paradox. She taught that people often sabotage supply not because they fear lack, but because they fear change. Large sums of money imply expansion. Expansion implies identity shift, and identity shifts can feel unsettling. This is why the 5 words work best when they are allowed to sink into the body, not just the mind. I am open to receive, not shouted, not repeated nervously, but rested in. Florence disliked frantic affirmation. She believed nervous repetition revealed doubt. She taught that one sincere declaration, followed by trust, carries more power than 1,000 anxious repetitions. When you become open, your behavior changes subtly. You stop shrinking. You stop explaining. You stop preparing excuses. Florence taught that supply often arrives disguised as opportunity. An opportunity requires recognition. Someone who is open recognizes it. Someone who is braced misses it. Now let us pause here. This is the moment to make the teaching embodied, not theoretical. In the comments below, write the 5 words exactly as they are. I am open to receive. Do not decorate them. Do not justify them. Just write them. This is not about performance. It is about alignment. Florence believed the spoken word carries creative power. The written word anchors it. Now let us continue. Florence warned against watching the clock after making a declaration. She taught that impatience is simply resistance wearing a disguise. When someone is truly open, they stop asking, "Is it working yet?" Because openness does not feel tense. It feels settled. Florence taught that after declaring openness, one must live as though support is normal, not extravagant, not dramatic, normal. She believed miracles often arrive quietly. A delayed expense disappears. A chance meeting opens a door. A forgotten idea resurfaces at the perfect time. Florence called this divine design. She taught that nothing is random when alignment is present. Money does not arrive because you demanded it. It arrives because you stopped blocking it. And once receiving becomes natural in small ways, larger flows follow. Florence taught that gratitude seals the circuit. Not excitement, not disbelief, simple acceptance. Yes, thank you. I receive. Florence believed that large sums of money are governed by the same law as small sums. There is no separate rule for abundance, only a difference in resistance. When someone stops arguing with the idea of being supported, life responds quickly. Not always loudly, but accurately. Florence taught that when you stop bracing for lack, life stops rehearsing it for you. And this is the great secret. Money responds to identity, not need. The moment you stop needing, you begin receiving. The 5 words do not create money, they remove resistance to it. And that is far more powerful. As you move through your day, you may notice subtle changes. A calmer response to numbers, a lighter feeling around decisions, a sense of being supported rather than tested. Florence would say these are signs of alignment. She taught that divine law rearranges things quietly. The first shift is always internal. The outer follows. You do not force supply, you make room for it. And room is made through openness. Florence often reminded her students that they were never meant to struggle for abundance. They were meant to align with it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are simply becoming open. And openness changes everything. Carry the words with you lightly. I am open to receive, not as a ritual, as a reminder of who you are becoming. And allow life to do the rest. If this video resonated with you, give it a like and subscribe so that we can continue this journey together.